a friend that told you to send a reminder to them, this, my friend, is the right time. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining the Speaker's Pulse, the show where public speaking and generally ideas matter. So I want to thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Every 2 weeks, we gather here in a proverbial fireplace, or around the fireplace, to discuss about matters, ideas, and topics that actually could add value to your professional and personal life. And I tell you the truth, the last couple of months have been extremely enjoyable, where we've had several guests and we talk a lot about leadership, about communication. But today we are starting the first of very many other sessions. But let me just call it a series on soft skills. There is a good saying that hard skills give you an opportunity to attend a job interview, but soft skills give you a chance to get the interview done and also keep your job. So it looks to me that soft skills are vitally important. If I am to emphasize the need for us to hone and sharpen our soft skills, let me just ask you, maybe a new member, that friend that is on the other side, do you know what soft skills are? What are actual soft skills? What are those examples of soft skills? Why is it important for us to invest time and talk about soft skills? Well, maybe the previous court can argue a case for us. But then maybe the hardest question for us to answer is, now that we know what it is, how can we actually develop these vital skills that can actually make a difference in our lives? So ladies and gentlemen, that and many, many other questions is what we try to answer during this 1 hour. But let us not lie to ourselves. There's so much more to discuss. There's so much more that we can talk about soft skills. And that's why we definitely invite you to tune in for the next few weeks as we talk more in depth about the soft skills. Well, as ever and as usual, I'm not always alone. I have a wonderful and exciting panel tonight that will help me discuss more and give us a few more ideas about soft skills. And I'll just begin with, in fact, let me say it's both of them are really good friends. And what an honor for me and a joy to be able to discuss this interesting topic that is near and dear to my heart with my two wonderful friends. I begin with a gentleman that has actually featured on this platform. His name is Venus Twagiramungu. He is a seasoned entrepreneur. He is a telecommunication engineer. In fact, Kigali knows him as a great telecommunication engineer. But most of us, especially my peers and people that are in the Toastmaster space, we know Venus as a passionate communicator and a gentleman that enjoys and does everything in his powers to mentor and orient young people. Venus, thank you so much for being part of our conversation tonight. We also have another distinguished lady that's joining our conversation for the very first time, but definitely not for the last time. Her name is Edith Muyombella. She is all the way hailing from Dar es Salaam in a wonderful neighbor, Tanzania. She is a learning and development professional. People that also know her, they know her passion for learning and also developing the next generation. What a joy to have you here, Edith. Thank you so much for being part of this wonderful conversation. Now, friends, both of you, I have personally had conversations about this very topic, not once, not twice, and surely I think several more times. And in all the cases, we have gone into deeper conversations about the need, about what these skills can bring on the table. And you've also been kind enough to suggest to me several times on how we can actually improve these skills. And tonight we will have the opportunity to talk more about that. But before we talk about the vitality of these skills, or even how we can build them, Venus, I'm going to begin with you. In your own opinion, how would you help our friends on the other side who are watching to understand what soft skills truly are? Over to you, Venus.
Thank you, my friend Joshua. It's a big honor to be, again, your host tonight. Soft skills. It's a topic, actually, it's a concept for me, which on one side is easy to understand, but on another side, when you relate it to the other skills, it may be somehow puzzling. And for me, I like using analogies. I like using metaphor language, and allow me to use one of the metaphor using some tools we are using. Everyone, I guess everyone, is using a phone, an electronic device like this one, or a laptop. When you go into a shop to purchase such kind of device, what you look at is what in electronic side, what we call the hardware. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing you look at. It may have different size, it may have different motherboards, but that's the thing which is the hardware. This is the thing you touch. That's the physical thing you purchase. And once you have it, normally it comes with a default software to make it operational. That default of software allow the tool to work. So if I make an analogy between the hardware device and the person, and then I look at the person as someone who has certain purpose in his life. Some people may have a long-term purpose to be, which focus on happiness. Mm-hmm. Some others may be focusing more on materialistic thing, on wealth. But whether you are focusing on health, wealth, or happiness, can soft skills help you to become healthier? Can soft skill help you to become wealthier or happier? This is what I'm going to show you by using that analogy of this hardware device and the default software. Mm-hmm. Sometimes back, I'm going to give you my personal example. I was doing an MBA program. And the course we started with is called organizational behavior. From an engineering background, that course was sounding not, I was not understanding what is the purpose of that course. I want to go to more exciting courses like financial marketing, but they said you need to start with organizational behaviors. And they brought such concepts as organization structure, leadership, and from that was a kind of noise. I did just to get a pass. But on last exam, I did my best to get a good mark. And only I got a D. It was not satisfying for me. And then I asked my professor, why are you giving me such small mark? His answer was a waking up. It was a wake-up call to me. And she said, you understand the concept. You use your common sense to answer the question. But from the tools we taught you, there is no single one you used. And then what tool are you talking about? This is when she reminded me about SWOT analysis, balanced scorecard, and so on. Those things I learned, but I didn't know what they're for. So that common sense is what I can compare with the default software, which comes with the hardware like this one.
Mhm.
Many people are very okay with getting a D. It's a pass. But if you want to go beyond, like this phone, if you want to use it just for making calls, for just sending SMS, maybe it is enough for that. But if you want to go beyond, this is why you need to bring in extra software. You download some extra software and to make it more powerful, more effective. So I make this analogy for a person. If you want to be more done, if you want to make an extra mile, not being contented with your just common sense, you need those soft skills. That's how I would define those. The soft skill, it's a kind of extra software which would make you more powerful. The same way extra software would make a device like this more powerful.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We work with great examples. If you imagine if your phone did not have enough software, believe me, you would not like your phone because it won't be operating at full capacity. That's what I learned from what Venus actually shared with us. Thank you so much. Edith, for the most part, if not all the conversation, you've been nodding in acceptance. Do you have something to add to that?
Of course, I have. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's always great to to share what I know, and of course also to learn from different people. So jumping straight to the topic of discussion, I would add by saying that maybe whenever I'm asked to explain about soft skills, I normally start by defining the word skill itself. I mean, in a very simple working definition, a skill is the ability to perform a certain task. Now, with that ability comes the soft skills and the hard skills, and I normally go further and define the hard skills. And I say that the hard skills, in a very simple definition, these are technical skills that are used by, certain professionals. It could be probably maybe just giving examples as maybe coding, or maybe for doctors, if you're performing heart surgery, that's a hard skill that you're supposed to use. And many others. Probably maybe I should give an example from my own working space, and that is when I do maybe training needs analysis. For me, that's a hard skill. That's a technical skill. Now, for the soft skills, these are non-technical skills. And in some of the literatures, they are referred to as people skills. I think it's because most of it involves an interaction between one person and another. So in some literatures, they are just generalized as people skills. And in other literatures as well, they could be grouped and could be called as employability skills. So in simple definition, I could say that without going further and unleashing what is further yet to happen in the discussion.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, and that's a very good perspective to look at. In other words, it is another ability to perform. So soft skills are actually increased ability to be able to perform specified tasks. Not so far from what Venus actually mentioned. These are additional software that we need to give our gadgets, in this case, our gadgets being ourselves, our abilities, extra capacity to deliver more, to do more, to excel more, to be more successful. So my friends, I think that was a very good way to put it. So thank you so much. Earlier on, I put this question to the chat and asked people to give us a few ideas of their own understanding of what soft skills are. And I see my good friend Jean-Baptiste, who says, by the way, he says that I joined from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I'm very happy and I was waiting to hear from you. So thank you so much, Jean-Baptiste, who comes again to say soft skills like time management, interpersonal communication. So thank you so much for giving us a few of the examples of soft skills. Now, maybe we can even get into the examples of soft skills that we think are vital. Let me just maybe again come back to you, Edith. You in your professional life, you have had the opportunity to hire young people. Let me focus on young people because we make the biggest percentage in the sub-Saharan Africa, right? And pretty much the world. So let me just focus on young people for a while. What are some of the soft skills you're looking for when you're hiring? What are some of the things that you're looking for? And I'll pose this question to you, Venus, a moment after Edith has gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. Most of the times, you know, when you're hiring, you would find, of course, there are many graduates that have performed very, very well. So you'd find they have, you know, the highest GPAs, they've done their first class and everything else. But then there are other soft skills that you have to look for. And number one, I would say, is the ability to communicate. I feel that's one of the key skills that you know, employers look for, not specifically myself, but ability to communicate. Number two is you know, leadership skills. And by leadership, most of the times when you say that, you know, we are hiring graduates and we're looking for leadership skills, people go like, okay, so these ones don't have experience. Why would you look for leadership skills in them? But they fail to remember that, you know, leadership starts with yourself. So you have to start with you're looking for someone who is able to lead themselves. And if you're able to lead yourself, that means you're self-aware and so many other things that will come with it. So the second one I would say is leadership skills. The third one, as I would say, is the ability to solve problems. Because, you know, when you're hiring graduates, you're expecting we normally say you're hiring new blood, you're injecting a new blood to the system, and you would expect to have, you know, individuals who are excited, who just want to solve problems, and they want to solve them very, very fast. And not only that, but at the same time, you're hiring someone, you want to hire someone who is self-confident, who believes in themselves, who can stand out and say, you know what, I think, you know, 1, 2, 3, who is able to, you know, share their opinions across without, you know, feeling like, okay, maybe I'll be judged or there'll be this and this and that. And maybe the last one I would say is presentation skills. I mean, you need to be able to, the graduates need to be able to stand up and, you know, present. It doesn't matter for how short, but, you know, just be able to present a certain concept or just to present anything else that they've been able to, they've been asked to do. For instance, I would say what exactly that we look for in that is how are they organized in terms of the flow of information. If maybe a graduate is told, come and present maybe about the challenges about employment in our country, it's just how that graduate will be able to organize themselves, arrange the correct flow of information, and be able to be very convincing and be able to keep the audience or be able to keep the panel very interested to listen to them till the end. So those are among the, you know, some of the soft skills that, you know, we normally look for when we're hiring graduates.
Yeah, thank you so much. And of course, it's important to keep in mind that hiring is always forward-looking. You're finding a person to fit in the team. And I'm going to flip this question to you, Venus. I know you have a team that you lead. When you are, or even your peers, when your friends are hiring, what kind of skills that you're looking for a person to fit exactly in a dream team, in a well-functioning team, in a healthy team? What are some of those soft skills that you think this person should have for them to be able to be successful in a successful team, or in an effective and efficient team?
Thank you, Joshua. Edith has mentioned a couple of soft skills which are very crucial for not for even a graduate, any employee.
Yeah.
And I would say not only on the workplace, but in life in general. And this reminds me something I read back in 12 years ago, when Tigo came in Rwanda for starting the operation. I went there, I was looking for a business opportunity to work with them. And at reception, some board kept my attention. And on that board, it was written this way: here at Tigo, welcome both technical competence and positive attitude. And they say, with technical competence and positive attitude, you are very welcome. With poor technical competence, but good attitude, we will train you. With good technical competence, but poor attitude, we don't want you here. That thing, I keep thinking about it. What is positive attitude? Because when you have positive attitude, a good attitude, it's easy to learn the rest. You are able, you are prepared, you want to be again, using that metaphor of computer, you are willing to be the programmer. Because when you are dealing with life, we have ourselves, we have the friends, we have the family members, we have the workplace mate, and so on. How do we interact with each and everyone within each specific situation? This is why we, again, coming back to that analogy, what software do you need? What soft skill do you need to deal with this specific aspect of life? So the 4 aspects of soft skills Edith mentioned, they would come, of course. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to lead yourself before leading others. The problem, it's as if we are here to solve problems. Actually, without problems, it's as if we would be useless.
That's true.
But how do we handle problems? And if you have to solve problems, you would realize a small percentage is technical. The rest is those skills you would learn because you have met person. And coming back to that thing called tools, some tools of life are, if you look at them, they are more soft skill than anything else. So the attitude of the person is the most important soft skill I would be considering.
Well, positive attitude. Other people call it a growth mindset, an openness to be able to learn and also be positive in nature. So thank you so much, both of you, Edith and Venice, for shedding a bit of light in addition to what our wonderful viewers have actually been saying, the likes of Jean-Baptiste. Well, so wonderful viewers, thank you so much for being part of this wonderful, groundbreaking conversation on soft skills. You are in the right place. If you want to grow, if you want to be a better person, a better individual, this is indeed the right place for you to be. Now, many times we tend to focus on our conversations on our professional life. And we know that that's only 50%, let's say 50%, or even sometimes less. And we also have another social life, a general life, which I think is what people say. We tend to say in real life or in day-to-day life, in everyday life. And surely there could be a place. I'm convinced that there's a place for someone's success or for someone to be successful even in this sphere using soft skills. And shortly, I'm going to focus a bit more on the role of soft skills in a general human success. And we're going to discuss more about that. But before we actually delve deeper, I want to appreciate people, Innocence, Jean-Baptiste. I want to say, Ganza, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I see Nelson Himbara, thank you so much. Of course, the usual suspects, my wonderful friend. He never misses the session. Octave, you are a real star. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. And you're saying you're following. I also see another friend of mine, Moise. Thank you so much for being part. And you attempted to even answer the question that we had. And you say to me, soft skills are those skills that you have outside the skills you use in your professional life. Okay, that's definitely arguable, and we'll definitely go and talk more about it. And then Octavio said the ability to lead yourself before leading others. You love that because that is the beginning point. Then you see Gadi, you say, well put, Mr. Venus. I think he's referring to the few examples that he's been sharing. I see James, thank you so much. You say, thank you, guys. And then Jean-Marie Vianney, very long time friend of mine. He says that, happy to join. I came late, but I am surely following. So I want to encourage all of you, if you're here for the first time, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe. It's important so that you don't miss the content that we produce here every 2 weeks, because the beauty with subscribing, of course, you get an email notification so that you don't miss the content. If you're new and you like the content, go ahead and like. You know, the thing about human beings is if they come and they find that you've liked, many of us have liked it, they might as well sit down and watch, meaning it might be vital for them. And look, if you think it's good for you, chances are really high that it's also good for us, because we are talking about people skills. As long as you're a person, this skill actually is going to be intriguing and positive for you, therefore. So, my friends, earlier on, I didn't mention that we tend to focus so much on the professional benefits of soft skills. I wanted to ask you, generally speaking, I'm going to begin with you, Venus. What are the vital opportunities that are there? Or simply put, why should I sweat? Why should I invest myself time to learn soft skills in the name of improving my life? How can these soft skills improve me both in the professional life and in the social life? But knowing you, Venus, let's start with the social life, and then I'm going to ask Edith to talk more about the professional life. All right.
Thank you, Joshua. To try to give my contribution this question, allow me to share how I understand a human, a person.
Sure.
Why would I be struggling to learn those soft skills? Would be connected to the purpose of a person. I don't know if you have ever felt some headache in your life. I'm sure everyone has at certain moment got a problem which would give him a headache. It's an issue with a colleague, it's an issue with a friend, it's an issue with a spouse, and you spend a night sleepless. This, when you link your health with your mind, with your brain, you would realize that you need something to help you solving social problems. Earlier I was saying without problem would be useless. But we are not here to welcome problems. They are there. We need to handle them. So the social soft skills, like for instance, when you have an issue with your child, when you have an issue with a friend of yours, those are the skills which will allow you to calm things, to solve the problem so that your mind can be okay, to make that you can sleep. So in a society, considering yourself, your health first, your life first, you need those skills for your benefit. Number two, as Stephen Covey have said it. One of the needs a human being has is to leave a legacy. And leaving a legacy means contributing to some people's welfare. And if you really want to contribute, you would realize you need some tools to help you to increase your contribution. And those, they would rank within the soft skill we are talking about. How can you convince people to be with you on a certain social activity? How can you convince people to join you in a club like Toastmasters for helping younger people to improve their communication skills? You would need some convincing, and those, they rank within the soft skills we are talking about. So to summarize, I would say you need soft skills. Number one, for your benefit. You don't want to spend life. You can even get crazy because of those problems you are unable to solve. And number two, it's of course for the others, because you have that need to leave a good legacy.
Well, thank you so much, Venus. I recently learned that the fundamental purpose for human beings is to be able to serve one another. And it looks like soft skills position us, from what Venus has just shared, position us for our own good, but most importantly, to live a life grander than ourselves. Thank you so much, Venus. I'll get back to you, Edith. I am sure I limited you. This is not what you wanted, but please, let's talk more about the professional benefits of developing one's soft skills.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joshua. It's funny what Venus has just said is just exactly what I was thinking about, this morning, is that, with soft skills, the moment you wake up, let's say it's a Monday morning, the moment you wake up, you start using your soft skills to the moment you reach your workplace. But then what is more interesting is that you don't stop using them. You are required to continue using them, at workplace. So in a summary, I could say, soft skills are the ones that are used, 24/7. You need them like 24/7. So specifically highlighting the aspect of, at workplace, and why is it important that you should have, enhanced soft skills, is that one, you don't work alone. You work with people. It doesn't matter whether you are, you're an entrepreneur, you have your own businesses that you're running, or you're working in a corporate world, or you work in a shop, whatever that you are, you cannot run away from that human interaction. So that is one thing. So your ability to communicate with others come in very, very handy. If I could give an example, maybe, let me use as an engineer as an example. If you're the best engineer, but for you to be able to deliver what you're required to deliver, you have to communicate with different people. And that's when your communication skills come in very handy. And that is why, even at workplace, for the organizations that have, performance management, there is that aspect of technical skills, and there is that aspect of behavior, or in some organizations, they call them values, and those things, these are the things that come about. You have to be able to work with others. And another example I could give is that, in one way or another, you will be required to build good relations with people. And that's where, things like emotional intelligence comes in. For you to be able to build good relations with people, then again, something that I said from the beginning, you have to understand yourself. You have to understand, I am Edith, probably maybe I work best in an environment where, it's quiet, it's harmonious. Whenever something goes wrong, it just affects my it affects the way I think, it affects my perception. So something like emotional intelligence comes in very handy, because you have to build good relations with people for things to, for things to prosper. And maybe another important thing is that in whatever that you do, you serve customers. We all have customers in our own way, and you have to have the right skills. And even if you don't interact with maybe the external customers, but the way you interact with the internal customers, you must possess strong communication skills, interpersonal skills. So it's very important for you to be able to intentionally grow your soft skills, so that you're able, I normally say, you're able to survive in an environment, in a workplace environment. And one thing I also like saying is that, when you intentionally work in your soft skills, you're not even doing it for the other person. You're actually being selfish. You're being selfish because you want to create a good environment for yourself to prosper. You understand? So if maybe you're saying you work in an environment where it's toxic and you cannot do 1, 2, 3, it affects you more than it affects others. So it's very important to build an environment where you're competent, you're fairly competent with your soft skills, so that 1, you're able to deliver as intended. 2, we keep talking about mental health. You need to work in an environment where it's peaceful and you're able to relate well with others. And, and 3rd, I think if an environment is peaceful and calm, you'll be able to prosper and be able to think and be able to be, more innovative and, and do other things. And then again, maybe something that I should add is that, you cannot say maybe you're using your soft skills better at work and then you forget using them at home. Right. Because when you come to the workplace, you don't live out your family responsibilities at home. So you better, learn to balance, how best you're using your soft skills, at home and, in the workplace. That's my contribution on that question.
Well, thank you so much. I think you've definitely done so much justice, and you've helped me also put it into perspective. For a long time, I've been saying, why, position yourself, be able to do that, get ready for employment, and then be ready for promotion, which are all right, because with the leadership positions are going to be given to people that have better soft skills, people skills. But you brought in another element of, I am developing it for myself. And I can connect you to what Venus mentioned earlier on of problem solving. It gives you a set of tools to be able to actually make your life easier. Your ability to negotiate, your ability to, communicate effectively. It gets you places, and it also gets you out of places, for that matter. It gives you a better positioning, and you actually are much more healthier all around, because as Venus says, like to mention earlier on, it looks like we are created for problems, but we should not dwell in problems, and we should be able to actually solve them. No, we're actually created to solve problems, and that's better to say. And therefore, having these soft skills, wherever we are, we are positioning ourselves to do better in a social space. It's easier for you to make friends, and therefore you're better at networking. And we can't sit here and overstate the importance of good networking skills, because opportunities find people that are good at networking, and they, it can actually take you better in a better place. Emotional intelligence can get you killed. Lack of emotional intelligence can get you killed. You could say something in the wrong place and you could die, lose your life, right? But at the same time, you could say something and it will elevate you in the sky. So it's more of a human survival instinct or practice or behavior to develop your skills, your soft skills. So this is a school, my friends. I am surely in class. So thank you so much. Let me just get back to our friends. There's a few comments coming in from our good friends. And I just to start with the first question from Octave. He says that, I have a question to both of you. And they say, in your own experience and observation, what would you say are the two most critical or crucial soft skills that people in their 20s are lacking or missing? I think this is a very good one. It's like, what are the two critical skills that you think people in their 20s are lacking? And any of you guys can go, because I think this is a very interesting question.
Okay.
Okay, you go ahead.
Let me try.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, it's not easy to say.
Mhm.
From my point of view, it's not easy to say people in this category, they're lacking this or that.
Mhm.
From the observation, I would even invite you, my friend, to observe yourself. Any 20, if I go back when I was 20, I even didn't know what soft skill was. Even when I was 30, when I was 40, it's as if, I mean, I don't know the society you are in, the way our education is set. It is designed to teach us the hardware, the hard skills. We learn mathematics, physics, and so on. And because they are easy, you can mark easily someone who has used a mathematical formula to solve a fictional problem you give to him. That's how our education is. And because of that, in 20s, I would say you have just completed the high school, you're starting university, or if you have started early, maybe you are completing university. If you have not been lucky to be in an environment where your parents would provide with some soft skills in terms of advice, if you have not been lucky to be in maybe the church, maybe the community, maybe the group you are part of, who would give you, without naming them, because this is another aspect as well. People can help you to communicate well without saying that we are teaching you how to communicate. Actually, that's how the soft skills are even a bit complex. They don't say we are teaching you this. It's a kind of experience you would get slowly. But if you are lucky to be in an environment like this one, you can intentionally, I'm insisting on this intentionally, go and look for tools which will help you to develop those skills. Because they are not easy to study, but you can learn them. They're not like physics or economics or finance, where they are easy to deal with. But if you decide yourself, and that is not easy for a person in the 20s, because he's dealing his, maybe because of so much noise. You remember the example I gave you when I started my organization behavior. Those concepts they were introducing to me, leadership, organization structure, organization. There is a concept I was most puzzled with. It was organization culture. When they brought this, they say, a culture, what to do again in a business? I'm not here to, because the culture from it was those people, the traditional dancing. But later on, when that concept of culture, when I grasped it, I said, this is the foundation for any activity we do. So I don't have an exact answer to you from my observation. From my observation is people in 20, depending to where they are grown up, they may be lucky, but from the education system we have, it's hard to have a minimum soft skill learned. So people in 20s, they would be running from that thing I called common sense of days.
Well, thank you so much, Venus. Edith, do you have anything to add on to that?
For me, it would, I'd like to pick on what Venus said about, parents instilling those soft skills without naming them. And I feel, to me now, I'm like, sort of like reflecting here, is that are parents aware of this huge responsibility that they have? Because then again, we've mentioned the word intentional. So are they aware? If they're aware, if they're not, then they need to, so that they can do it very intentionally and be very focused on what sort of skills that they need to build. And that takes me back to when I was in primary school. I remember back then, it was end of year celebration, and I went to the same school with one of my sisters, and I remember there was sort of like awards for different categories, and then my sister used to be like top of the class. So of course she was expecting to get the top of class award, and she was to get, and then like a day before the celebration, I was called by the head of the school, and I was told, like, you will also be receiving, a recognition. I was like, for what? Because I was not the first, I was the second. And I was told that you will receive a recognition for being the most disciplined student in the school.
Wow.
And, but no, don't clap, because I was not as excited. I was not as excited then. I was like, okay, so my sister gets to being top of the class, a recognition for being top of the class, and I'm getting for being the most disciplined. I didn't find it as cool,
Yeah.
But looking back, I've never even shared it before. This is the first time that I'm actually sharing it after so many years. But then, we went, after the celebration that day, went back home and, met my dad. And, my sister shared, I don't remember what she was given. I think I was not very happy, but I remember I was given a watch. I was given a watch and I think my dad was excited, but not as excited, because she was more excited for this top of the class recognition. You see now where I'm getting at, yeah? So, and he was the one who kept on, insisting, you need to behave yourself, you need to, take all the notes, you're not supposed to miss school, you need to, be punctual and things like that. So for me is, I want to bring, into the light the contribution that the parents have, and the aspect of whether they are aware that they have this contribution, this, not actually contribution, this huge responsibility that they have to actually be able to build, the soft skills, and recognize them equally as they do recognize, other aspects of performance in their children.
Well, thank you so much. That's absolutely important. And you see, in life, you find that discipline will reward more than any sort of excellence. Your ability to be consistent and disciplined surely will take you to more places than being the first in any unitary or I would say binary positioned or minded state. But thank you so much for sharing. That's how critical it is for parents and caregivers and teachers and mentors and everyone that has people under their care, especially young people under their care, to be able to to emphasize. And maybe just to come back and round this up. Yes, there could be different people based on what they octave, different people based on what exposure they have will have some skills and maybe not others. But that's not so much important to see what is not there. Maybe the good news is that we actually have the opportunity to build these skills, to learn them from scratch, and then be able to excel and equip ourselves with ability to succeed. I have a question coming in from another friend from a different platform, and say that I get that these skills are important and they're everywhere. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to develop them? Why is it that they're not readily available, yet they are very important? They could be the difference between life and death. So I'm going to press this to any one of you guys as well. Whoever is ready, please take on this challenge and let's hear your thoughts. Why is it so scarce? Why is it not so readily available? Anyone of you can go.
Let's say this start.
You're right.
Okay. I guess ladies first.
Right.
Why, the question is, why are they scarce, right?
Yeah, yeah.
For me, I'm not so sure about the scarcity. I would like to respond by saying this. I feel is that they are not so talked about. So if they're not so talked about, they in our culture, we don't recognize them as much. Back to the example that I gave previously. And, you know, everywhere you go, the focus is on whether, you know, you have, you know, a bachelor of science in whatever, you know, path that you've chosen to be, you have done your master's, you have your certification in different, you know, profession and things like that. We don't really put much emphasis on the soft skills. And so it makes people not really see the importance of, you know, being intentional and be able to build the skills. You understand what I mean? Like if we could be talking about, you know, talking about them more often, if these kind of conversations could be happening more often, if only employers could be out there and say, you know what, when we are hiring, yes, we want, you know, to have your, you know, your GPA of so and so and so, but, you know, there are other skills that they are soft skills, not other, but because when you say other, then they kind of sort of like they're less important. We say like there are soft skills that are equally important that we also look for. If you don't mention them as much, if you don't highlight them in bold and say, this is what we're looking for, clearly nobody will see the importance of going out there and maybe learn how to do presentation skills. Because if you ask me, you know, there are different sources of, you know, information where you can get and you can improve yourself. You know, you can go to the YouTube, you can do different things, you can read, you can, you know, look for a mentor, you can get a coach. There are so many ways that you can be able to improve the soft skills. But I think what is lacking is that they don't get to be mentioned as much. The focus is not really there. We can do better, I can say, at family level. We've mentioned that at family level, at schools level, at university and colleges level, you know, at workplace level, it should be mentioned as often so that it sticks into people's mind that you need this. As we've said from the beginning, these are survival skills that you need in order to prosper. So we need to mention them as much, and also not actually only mentioning them, but actually also, you know, showing the way and say, if you want to grow, let's say your communication skills, these are the options that you can explore. Because you can't say it's important and then you don't lead the way and tell someone that this is what you need to do in order to grow maybe a certain skill. So for me is awareness and, you know, more light in terms of like how now I've in awareness, one, that, you know, these skills are important. And second, awareness is that, okay, this is where I stand in terms of maybe presentation skills. I'm at this level and I need to improve to a certain level. You know, that kind of awareness, that's what I'm talking about. And then, you know, lead the way and say, you know what, if you want to improve a certain skill, these are the different sources that you can tend to, you should explore.
So basically they could, and they are actually available, but we talk less about them. The emphasis is not enough. Venus, do you agree with that?
Totally. I agree. We don't talk. I was talking earlier about our education system. And I remember when I discovered how important they are, I jumped, and from my background as an engineer, I was looking around and see opportunity in the engineering sector, telecom sector. But I was seeing that, I discovered that what is missing for our young graduates to grab that opportunity, rank within the soft skills sector. And I decided to go to young people with the intention to, I was not calling them soft skills, but I was calling them the possibility for self-teaching, for self-learning. And I remember I bought a couple of books of 7 Habits of Effective People, because that book contains easy to use tools for developing a lot of soft skills. And I was distributing them to people. And I was surprised, and I was somehow deceived to see people, they are not using them. Then this kept pushing me to think, why? And using the analogy of computer, because this led me to dig deep to understand how a human think. And we have a certain data within our mind, this thing we call mindset. We talk about it without asking what is reading. But if you compare yourself to a computer, don't throw stone to me because I'm comparing ourselves to the hardware. But if you compare a computer which is connected to internet, the same we are connected to environment. And we have in and outflow from us. The same way you would have in to your computer and out. And if you don't have filters to know what kind of data to put in your mind as a tool to use for your survival, I like the word Edith is using, you may collect wrong data which would pretend to help you in that survival. So you need to bring that awareness level. And that's that. How aware are you when you are listening to people talking to you, when you are seeing things? How aware are you to filter, to sort data in your mind, say, this is useful, this is not. I guess this is where we have issues. The environment, we are getting a lot from the social media. And if we don't have sufficient, if we don't have strong database, this is what others were calling positive attitude, we end up by being overwhelmed by the noise and losing ourselves in the system. And that's why those critical skills, those soft skills, which are very critical, you would not find them very often. It's because of that environment we are in, that education system we grow in, which would put first the so-called your interest first. But when you look at them, even your interest is not considered. So if you try to be aware, if you try to improve your self-awareness, tools are available. They're available on the internet, they're available in books, but you need to be involved. Allow me to finish by saying that your mind is like the software it's like the program responsible for your survival. But unless you intervene to be the programmer and let the environment program for yourself, unless you decide to be your own programmer, it would be hard to adopt those soft skills in your life.
That is absolutely critical, that you have to take charge of your own growth and be intentional. I loved what both of you mentioned. And maybe in the next episodes, in the following episodes, we'll talk deeper and more about how to develop these soft skills and that word intentionality, being at the center stage, taking the central position to be able to develop yourself, to allow yourself. I love the analogy that Venus is using of the programmers, because most of our listeners tonight are actually software developers, and therefore they understand the language better. So you have to allow yourself the opportunity, the actual role of programming the software that you're actually going to use, and be intentional about it to develop that. Now, my friends, you will not believe it, but our time is already well spent. And I just can't know how time decides to fly away when you're talking about really interesting stuff. So just for us to conclude this part of the introduction, I reckon there will be another part, another section of the introduction to soft skills. We've not even talked about how we can develop these skills. We've not even talked about how they differ from hard skills, and how we can actually develop these, and what we can do, and what these skills are. So my friends, if you joined and you found this to be an interesting conversation, you are in for such a great treat. We'll have more and more conversations to elaborate more and explain further about these wonderful skills that people, let's talk about. There's a few questions coming in. Unfortunately, we might not be able to answer all of them tonight, but I can tell you that we'll be able to answer them going forward. And in fact, maybe in the next episode that will be live on the 29th of August, we will start with these questions. One question starts from James. He says, is it possible to start learning communication skills in your 30s and be able to communicate confidently? And if so,
even 50.
You're saying that if so, what is the best way to learn it as quick as possible? Thank you so much, James, for your wonderful questions. I also see my good friend, Mohammed Bashir, who says that is soft skills based just on software skills. Okay. Again, maybe to say, James, I would quickly say Toastmasters is definitely your safe haven if you want to develop your communication skills. So Toastmasters is an international public speaking and leadership organization that basically does that, James, trains members to be better communicators and leaders. And therefore, if you want to be able, and by the way, it allows all sorts of people to join Toastmasters, whether you're in your 18 years, whether you're 70, you can actually develop it. And that's something that we'll also be talking about in our subsequent episodes. The uniqueness about the soft skills is that there is no age limit. As you say, you just need to be willing to grow these skills. And therefore, James, look for Toastmasters near you, and you will be surely in safe hands, and people will be there to support you. Mohammed, thank you so much for your question. You're asking if the soft skills are only for software skills. Definitely not. That was just an analogy that we used to make sure that we understand what these soft skills compared to the hard skills, or compared to our own lives, how soft skills can actually be the vital skills that we need to be to unplug, to unlock the potential for us also to be successful and do very well. My friends, we've come to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I just want to allow 30 seconds to each of our panelists to give us like a parting shot. Of course, we will have them again. This is not the last time we are having you. We will have you again. God willing, we'll continue this conversation in 2 weeks' time and see if we can actually come to the conclusion of this introduction episode. But now, 30 seconds for each one of you to share with us your parting shots. I begin with you, of course, Edith.
Okay, for me is before I got into I go and use my 30 seconds, I'd like to mention, it's funny that I also wanted to talk about it's never too late to learn any skill. Don't let age limit you into anything. It's never too late to learn any skill. As into my parting note, the foundation of everything, the foundation of learning, I should say, not everything. The foundation of learning is willingness. So in anything that you want to achieve, in any skill that you want to develop, you have to be willing to develop it. And once you're willing, you'll be able to go extra mile to be able to attain that skill. So willingness is very key. I would like to urge, people out there, in any skill that you want to learn, be willing so that you're able to go extra mile to be able to attain it. Thank you very much.
Your willingness is key. Over to you, Venus. How about you? Your parting shot.
Okay, you would allow me to finish with a statement from Einstein, who said that the fundamental problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. The level of thinking. I hope when we start this session, you had a certain level of thinking. And I hope at the end of the session that the level of thinking have shifted somehow relatively higher. And I would invite everyone who participates to this session to go extra mile, as my colleague was saying, to go beyond using the common sense. The common sense is very important for your life. And the common sense can take you maybe very far. But I'm challenging you to go extra mile, beyond the common sense. And you would not be deceived if today you intentionally decide to learn some extra soft skills, practice them. You would see how your life would change, how your life would be, again, happier. And if your purpose is even to get more money, you would realize how even you're going to be wealthier.
Well, thank you so much, a wonderful panelists. You are surely spot on. Edith, from Edith, we learned that it's important that we surely be intentional as much as we can. And it's never too late for us to develop the skill and then the soft skills. And then from the news, you're also urging us to give ourselves a chance, to give ourselves an opportunity to learn an extra soft skill, and we will not be disappointed. And let me say that the one of the ways to learn the extra soft skills that you can actually start building will be to subscribe and stay on this channel, stay in touch with us, because what is in stock for you, my friends, is just a lot more than what we just seen, because what we just did is simply scratch the surface. There's so much in stock. We will be having several episodes that we will be talking specifically about soft skills. How do you develop soft skills? The specific soft skills also have their own intricate ways of developing them. We will be providing with tools, we're providing with ways and ideas on how you can actually give yourself a chance and develop the soft skills. Remember, my friend, that this is not just a matter of learning, it might be a matter of survival. So the big question is, what will you do about your own survival? What will you do to give yourself a better chance to succeed? Because all I can tell you, our panelists have just said it all, that you have the opportunity to definitely be a better person by increasing the amount of soft skills that you know. So will you join me on this journey of developing our soft skills? I encourage you greatly to subscribe, to like and share the content that we are producing on this channel, because I am extremely convinced that we can together be able to change our world. If we don't change the whole world, we will change our world for someone that eagerly wants to learn. So I invite you to reach out and share. As we conclude again, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Our wonderful viewers, you are phenomenal. Thank you so much for the comments that kept on coming. Thank you so much for the questions as well. I think that this has definitely made this conversation a much richer conversation because you are here. And I invite you again on the 29th of August to be ready to continue this conversation, because as you see, it is far from over. And what we have in stock is definitely much more than what we've shared tonight. Until then, I encourage you to take good care of yourselves. Please observe the COVID-19 SOPs, stay alive, do everything that you can do to stay safe. And we'll meet again in 2 weeks. And then, until then, this will be and is always going to stay the